Hi, I'm Jasmine, the head of the marketing department at American IRA. And today we're joined by Amir Khan. This is your second or third webinar appearance. You're also in a podcast episode coming up soon, which is super exciting too. But I always enjoy talking to you. You don't make it just a sales pitch. You bring something of value that our listeners or viewers can really get out of your presentation. So, while yes, you do work with Dream Prime Homes, and that is an investment opportunity, that's just not your whole deal. So, I enjoyed that about you and having a discussion like that. So, I just needed to make it very clear that American IRA is not fiduciaries. I am, as the American IRA representative here today, are not an advisor. I cannot give you investment advice. If you decide to enact upon any business or investment advice that you hear on today's webinar, please do your own due diligence. Talk to your own CPA and your own professionals. Just because Amir has a voice and an audience in our platform today does not mean that American IRA endorses or backs Amir Khan or any of his projects, and he's not being compensated for his appearance today. So there you go. Everything's on the table. But I will let you have the floor, Amir, and it's really nice to have you back again.
Thank you, Jasmine. Love being on the show and you being hosting. I love this interaction and thank you for the intro. So hello, everyone. My name is Amir Khan. I am based in Dallas, Texas. Name of my company is Dream Prime Homes. I have a little presentation that I will go through. But before I do that, I just want you to know that I like helping people with self-directed IRA, especially people who are facing problems with what's going on in the equities market right now. I am in real estate, so obviously what I'm going to be presenting would be about real estate. So having said that, let me start sharing my screen. And don't worry if you can't see this if you're on a mobile device. Hopefully, at some point, you will have a um, a recording of this, and once you do, then you'll be able to maybe pause on certain sections because I do have some of the slides. I do have a lot more information than the others, and so just bear with me on that. So having said that, today's presentation is Retire Wealthier, Build a 12% yield real estate portfolio for lasting financial freedom. So that's the title. All right, so just like Yasmin, I do have to read out this disclaimer. Real estate investments are not guaranteed. Any past performance is not a guarantee of future performance. There are risks associated with any investment. Please carefully consider all aspects of any opportunity before investing. We are not a licensed financial investment advisor, lawyer, or tax professional. Please consult with your CPA or financial tax advisors before making any investment decisions. The material in this guide should be used for general guidance and informational purposes only. So here's the outline of what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to give you a little bit more information about myself. Um, when people work with us, they are working with us. I'm talking about investors. They are working with us in the capacity of a private money lender. So if you've never done that before, I have a lot of information about that. That's one of the things I do. I educate people about this. Um, and then I'm going to talk about specifically how our system works, working with a self-directed IRA or any other retirement account. And then I'm going to talk about how you generate income using this specific strategy. Then I have a whole bunch of frequently asked questions that I'll go through. And then finally, I will answer your question on how we can perhaps work together. All right. So having said that, a little bit about myself. I have over 20 years of experience in real estate, both on the residential side and on the commercial side. I am the managing partner, the sole managing partner in Dream Prime Homes. We have portfolio right now in Ohio, Illinois, and Michigan. Primarily, we invest in the Midwest, and our portfolio is just over about $1 million right now. I also own a non-real estate business here in Dallas. I own a music academy since 2009. Does really well. We have a staff of 10 and a student of 150. More specifically on the real estate, I do want to share this with you. I am a real estate investment speaker. I am also a real estate investment coach. So I help other real estate investors invest in real estate, and educate them about real estate investments. I am also a coach for people who have never done private money lending. So I'm a real estate um, money lender coach. I also write about real estate, and I believe I've written also some blogs for American IRA as well. All right. So I know when you're going to be either watching if you're watching this now or when you're going to be watching this via recording, some of you might have self-directed IRAs. Some of you might be very well familiar with how self-directed IRAs work. Some of you may not. For their benefit, I'm just going to go over what a self-directed IRA is. It is a type of tax-deferred retirement account that allows individuals to invest in a broader range of assets beyond the typical. So your typical is, you have a equity account in Morgan Stanley and you're only investing in stocks, bonds, mutual funds. So when you have a self-directed IRA, it opens up the investment horizon, um, including real estate. So if you have a regular type of a retirement account, like a regular IRA, Roth IRA, or a 401k, you cannot invest directly into real estate. When you have a self-directed IRA, you can directly invest in real estate, and you can do what I'm going to be talking about today is invest in a whole bunch of things, including real estate as a private money lender. That has a lot more uh, tax benefits. And so I'm going to talk about that as well. All right. So I'm going to specifically talk about, like I said, how we're going to employ private lending as a vehicle. And so first, let me talk about what are some benefits of being a private money lender. Number one, passive income stream. So as a private money lender, there is consistent and predictable return of investment without the need for active management. So it's a true wealth building roadmap. Number two, there is no property owner responsibility. So even though you are investing using the vehicle of private money lending, you are not responsible for property ownership, such as, maintenance and repairs and tenant issues. Number three, high returns of investments. So private money lending can offer higher returns compared to if you were to do any traditional investment. There is collateral security. Loans are typically secured by the property itself, reducing the risk of loss. And flexibility and control. So investors have the flexibility to choose the deals they want to fund according to their preference. So now let's talk about private lending and lending in general. So if you were to ever Google this, it's quite interesting. What do banks do with your money when you deposit it, right? And literally, this is the answer you'll get. Banks use the money in deposit accounts to make loans to other people or businesses, and in return, the bank receives interest payments on those loans from borrowers, right? Would you want to guess which banks do this? All of them. Wells Fargo, US Bank, Bank of America, Capital One, Citibank, all of them do this, right? Now, if you were to do the same thing for insurance companies, what do insurance companies do with the premium? Well, this is the answer you'll get. Most insurance companies generate revenues in two ways, charging premiums in exchange for insurance coverage, then reinvesting those premiums into other interest generating assets like private businesses, insurance companies, and a whole bunch of other. Guess who does that? All the large insurance companies, including State Farm, AIG, Farmers, and you name it, right? So basically, my question to you is, would you like to be in the same business as them, which is, all the banks and all the insurance companies? So this is how we structure when we work with private money lenders so that you can understand the structure. As a private money lender, you fund one specific real estate property. So this is not a fund. I use the word fund, maybe I shouldn't, but it's more to explain how you're getting involved in the transaction. So there is one investor and there is one property. All right. So against that property, you're protected, secured, and insured. And of course, you're going to receive your monthly principal and interest, and we are the borrower. All right. So that's just to give you an overview of that. Right. Now, I use that word protected, secured, and insured. Here's a little bit more information. So how are you protected? The mortgage is, there's a mortgage, there's a promissory note, there's insurance policy, and then there's property insurance, right? So mortgage is created to place the deed of trust as collateral in favor of the lender. So that's one of your protection. There is a promissory note that lays down the terms of the 5-year note. We create 5-year notes. So all our private money lenders have a 5-year note with us. I'll go into more details as we go along. And then title insurance policy. As a private money lender, you should get title insurance policy to ensure that protects you against any issues relating to title. And then property insurance, so general liability insurance is in place, naming the lender as a primary beneficiary. Now, I'm only showing you this whether you work with us or not. This is also, remember, we're trying to educate you. So even if you work with some other entity and you're a private money lender, these are the documents you should have for your protection and security. So in our case, this is how we structured our deal. So I already showed you the earlier graph where I showed you the left part of the equation. You must be wondering, well, what do we do with those properties, right? So now this is the right side of the equation. So if you look on the right side, once we buy the property and once our private money lender has lent us the funds, we buy the property, then we turn around and we sell these properties on owner financing. Um, it is similar to lease option, and if you're not familiar with that, I'll be happy to get on a one-on-one call and of course go into a lot more details than this. So it is a little bit more complicated. That's why I'm trying to explain this to you. So we turn around and we owner finance this to our end users, and I'll explain who these people are. And we use something called a land contract. In some states, it's also called a installment contract or agreement for deed. It's similar to lease option, but the one of the biggest benefit of this is that when we actually create these documents, are no longer responsible for property maintenance and repairs or any other issues. So basically, our tenant buyers are in the process of buying this property from us, so they do have equitable interest in the property. Again, I'll go into a lot more details to explain how our system works. So in a typical private money lending, this is usually how it will work, but I'm also using our example to see. So I have this number so you can see how the transaction actually works, right? So the number one, you as a private money lender will use your self-directed IRA. Now, this is important. The money would not be coming from you, obviously, if you want to keep the funds within the tax sheltered account and of course maintain the tax sheltered benefit, right? So the funds are coming directly from the self-directed IRA to the investment. Now, again, explaining the funds never come to us. Same if you're working with some other entity, not just us. I'm just explaining this. If you're investing as a private money lender, the funds should never go to the entity directly. Ideally, they shouldn't be. So if somebody's asking that, you should be asking a lot more questions. Because remember, if they're going directly to the entity, you want to know, well, why are they going to you? Because in our case, when we have a property under contract, we are obviously using a title company or an attorney. All right. So the funds always should be going directly to the title company or the attorney in this case, right? And they stay in escrow till the closing happens, and that's when the funds are dispersed. So that's what's happening in step one. So step two is we uh, are now in the process of closing, and as soon as the closing happens, we are at the back end doing our marketing to find our end buyer. Now, when I say end buyer, again, I mean that tenant that we're going to place. That's step three. So we call it that person a tenant buyer. There are three types of tenant buyers. Number one, it could be somebody who's wanting to live in that house. They're going to have equitable interest, which means they're going to live there over a period of time. They're going to improve the property. And if they're able to, they can then sell the property. They do have equitable rights. So that's one type of person who could be a tenant buyer. The second type is professional, I would say, tradesmen, like a roofer. It could be a contractor. It could be a plumber. Sometimes they move in if the property, for example, have a bad roof. They will actually see that as an opportunity to say that, you know what, I'll buy the home. It'll cost me a lot less to replace that roof. I'll move into the home, or I'll have my crew move in there. So there's a whole bunch of variation. And the third type are other investors. They want to be investors. They want to be landlords. So they would buy it and they would see an arbitrage and they would become our tenant buyer. So in step four, they are actually making their monthly payment to us. And in step five, we are making our monthly interest payment to our private money lender. So in a normal circumstance, whether you're working with us or not, somehow or the other, this is how the transaction will be working. In our case, I can tell you for sure on the right side of the equation, whether the property is still vacant, we're in the process of finding a tenant buyer for the property, or whether the tenant buyer is late in their payments. Number five, which is our payment to our private money lenders, don't stop. That's how we maintain our relationship with our private money lenders. All right, so I hope that gives you a little bit idea on how private money in terms of transactions would work. Um, Now, specifically a bit more about ourselves, and if you were to work with some other entity as a private money lender, you need to be asking these questions. Okay, what kind of assets are you buying? And where are you buying these homes? So I'm going to answer these in our case, right? So in our case, number one, we are buying only single family homes that are two bedroom, one bath or larger. Number two, most homes need work. So, and they are either already habitable or they're very close to being habitable. We buy in areas where the average rent will support our financial model. So, this is our specific model, right? So, just like if you were to work with somebody else as a private money lender, you need to be asking them, hey, what are you buying? So you can understand, are they very clear on what their buy box is? And the second question you should be asking, main category would be, where are you buying these homes? So you have an idea about the market, right? So in our case, we are always buy in states that are landlord friendly because that's how our model works, right? So it's important for us to be doing a owner financing at the other end. And so currently we are buying in St. Louis, Missouri, Cahokia, Illinois, lots of pockets in Illinois. East St. Louis, Illinois is one market. Toledo, we're there, and some markets in Michigan. So I'm now going to give you some more specific examples. I go into a lot more details when we do one-on-one meeting with people who are interested in working with us. But this is an example on how our system works. So our private money lenders would lend us funds, and like I said, we'll go out and buy a property. A typical minimum is 30,000, and that's our typical loan amount. So you would lend us 30,000, and these homes that I'm talking about, you would be thinking, well, what kind of home can you buy for 30,000? Well, that's where our main market is. We actually describe this specific market in the Midwest as distressed single family homes. I do use the word distressed because there's a whole economic science behind this. And I go into a lot more details when I do one-on-one meetings with our lenders to explain why this is happening. And this is not a phenomena that is temporary. This has been going on for more than 25, 30 years, and it will continue going on because of how the demand and supply is and how much inventory there is of single family homes in these markets. Um, so, so the typical loan is 30,000, and like I said in the beginning of the presentations, we are currently paying 12% interest. That means your principal and interest, the loan is fully amortized over 5 years. And I'll go into a lot more details. We have a whole bunch of frequently asked questions. I'll go into more detail, but let me give you a broad overview. So again, it's a $30,000 loan, and the returns are at 12% fully amortized over a 5-year note is $667.33. This is principal and interest. So the loan is completely paid off in 5 years, And in 5 years, the total return you'll get for 30,000 would be $40,040. That's after 60 payments, which is 5 years, right? So at the end of 5 years, you would have earned $40,010. So basically, your interest on this is just over $10,000. That's one specific example. Now, what I like explaining when I like talking to our investors and I explain how you can actually create a portfolio of these kind of properties is that you can, example is, let's say you have $90,000 in your self-directed IRA and you want to start creating a portfolio of properties like this. So this is a specific example for that. So assume you had $90,000 and you started all loans at the same time on January 1st, 2025. They all have the same terms, paying 12%, fully amortized over 5 years, and each of these loans are paying $667.33, right? So all loans will be completely paid off on January 1st, 2030, right? After 5 years. So each loan will return $40,040. So in after 5 years, you would have earned a total of $120,120 on your $90,000 investment. Now, this does not include adding any more funds into your principal 90,000. I'm using a technique that I'll show you, which is very, very exciting. Many of my clients are doing it and they love that. What we use is the compound interest income and tax sheltered growth within the self-directed IRA to grow it even faster. And this is how it's done. Um, Basically, we call it a snowball effect. All right. So I hope you can see this presentation on a desktop, so on a big screen, because it's like a spreadsheet. So I'm trying to show you those numbers. And actually, I have several clients who are doing exactly this right now within a self-directed IRA. All right. So let's assume you have $120,000 in your self-directed IRA and you want to do this and you want to create a portfolio. So let's say on January 1st, you started with four loans, $30,000 each, and which means you'll be able to get four loans. If you started at the beginning of the year, we start paying our payments after 30 days. So let's assume you made the investment, so your balance on your account went to zero. Towards the end of the month, you got your first month's payment. So 667 33 times 4 is 2,668. So that's your first month's payment. So now your balance in your first month at the end of the month would be 2,668, right? So if you keep doing this, as you can see, your balance is growing, right? Because you're getting your principal and interest payment coming in. So if you notice something happened in December of year one, that your balance will go over 30,000. As soon as it goes over 30,000, we redeploy into another loan. So if you look at the spreadsheet in year two, January, we now have five loans. So our principal interest payment to our private money lender has gone to 3,335, right? And we use the same concept. And as you can see, in October of year two, we redeploy again because our balance went over 30,000 again. And now we have six loans. Do you see what we are doing? So we are not putting more money into the account. We are using the principal interest that's coming in. There are no tax consequences. Plus, we are using compound interest, the power of compound interest. So with this, in 5 years, in end of 5 years, you will be getting an income of 8,671 per month, and you would have 13 loans by that time. Do you see that? So you started with only four, but you ended up with 13. Now, of course, it is a 5 year cycle, which means at the end of 5 years, four of your original loans out of 13 would be paid off. Now, at that time, you can make a decision on how you want to align your income if you want to keep doing it. Remember, you're not putting in more money. You're just using what your principal was and you're just redeploying it. That's what we're doing. Now, obviously, they are depending on your age, depending on what your goals are, there are tax consequences if you're starting to do withdrawals. But let's talk about that. Some people have specific need for income, right? So let's say you want to work the other way around and you want to say, well, I want $5,000 a month income or $60,000 a year reliable income with my principal secured, Remember, in this case, we have real estate that is securing your principal. So this is not like, that the value could go zero. You still have a protection, you have security, and you have insurance. So let's talk about those time frames. So if you need 5,000, you have three things you could do primarily. So you could either have that $5,000 income immediately, right? Or you could look at that income gradually growing up in about 3 years, or you could look at that income growing up in 5 years, right? So obviously, if you want immediate, you have to come up with more cash. So in this case, having a $5,000 a month income, you would need at least $240,000, which is about 8 loans, right? And you have immediate $5,000 a month income. If you can wait for 3 years, you can start with $120,000, which is 4 loans. I have several of my clients doing this already. Or you can start with $90,000, which is just 3 loans, and in 5 years, you can reach this income. So I hope that was a little bit helpful. Obviously, there's a lot more details involved when you're a private money lender. I do realize some people are not as much experienced in private money lending. They've never done that. And so I actually have a special offer for you about that. But let me go through some frequently asked questions on not just about regular private money lending, but with us, if you work with us. So that will answer your questions. Question one, how is my money secured and how is my investment protected? So, like I explained before, there are four primary instruments that you should, not just working with us, but with any entity, you should ask for. Number one, a promissory note that will spell out the terms of the loan and payment schedule, right? Number two, there should be a mortgage created, that will keep the your protection, right? And that is your legal instrument, by the way. That is, in this case, in our case, it is actually filed at the county level. So when the deed of trust is submitted by the title company, a copy of the mortgage is also attached to that deed, right? So that is your legal protection instrument. There should be a title insurance policy. So we actually buy two title insurance policies. One is for us as a borrower, but then we also buy another one for our private money lender. And then you should definitely ask for property insurance policies. In our case, obviously, the private money lender is listed as the mortgagee. Question, does the investment terms and returns vary per deal? Now, depending on who you're working with, obviously, before you get into any kind of a transaction with them, you should know what the terms and conditions are. In our case, they stay the same. They're not different. It just makes it easy to work with our private money lenders. So our typical loan is $30,000 per deal. We pay 12% interest, and our loans are fully amortized over 5 years. Question, do I get to choose the property I will invest in? So whether you're working with us or with somebody else, yes, you should have that option. If you don't, then you are kind of stuck with whatever the operator is bringing to the table. So in our case, when we put properties under contract, we have an investor portal on our website. So when you become a investor with us, you can log in. You'll have login credential, and you can go back and look at the deal flow and do all kind of research. So yes, in our case, absolutely, you can choose the property, but we do have several investors in our portal. So the first qualified lender who commits will be assigned that properties. It's first come, first serve. Question, what if the tenant buyer stops paying? So that's a very good question. Now, I don't know if you're working with or will work with somebody else who have this model, but in our case, we have a full we call on the ground team that do different parts of the management. That's something we are responsible for. As a private money lender, you're not responsible for that. So to answer your question, if the tenant buyer stops paying, the legal instrument, the instrument that we create, the land contract, allows us to convert them into a regular tenant, which means we can actually evict them. So the eviction timeline is much shorter than a foreclosure timeline. So that's why we are using this instrument, like I mentioned, land contract. So again, to answer your question, if the tenant buyer stops paying, our payment to our private money lender does not stop. We just manage this process because we can very easily evict them and we can place a new tenant buyer in their place. Question: what if something happens to you? Who will make the payment? So that's a good question. So if you're working with any operator, you should be asking that question. In our case, my LLC, my whole business runs through Dream Prime Homes. That's the main LLC that actually purchases property and holds the deed. And so if was something to happen to me, my heirs will continue to the LLC will continue to operate, and my heirs will ensure that the payments are done based on the promissory note. Question: what if the property I invest in burns down? So this is an excellent question. So if you are a private money lender, whether you have experience or not, remember I showed you one of the instrument that you need from every private money operator. If somebody is borrowing money from you and they're the operator, they should have an insurance policy. In fact, the insurance policy is so important that you should not sign the documents that go into effect unless you've seen a code on the insurance and the effective date showing you the mortgagee. So this is very important. Absolutely. You should be covered even before the funding is happening, so that if within that hour, if the property was to burn down, you are covered for the amount you've invested in the property. So you are in, like I said, in our case, you are listed, the private money lenders listed as a additional insured on the insurance policy. Question: what happens after 5 years? Now, this question might vary depending on who you're working with. If you're working with us, remember I told you our terms are 5 years. If you're working with somebody else, their terms could be 1 year, or it could be even less, right? So that still is the same, but I'll explain to you in our case what happens after 5 years of payment. Your loan in our case is paid off. At that time, you will sign a certificate of satisfaction to clear the lien against the title. Make sense? Uh, see. That's basically it. What I want to mention is that just like any system, we do have a little limitation. You know, we have deal flow, which means the number of deals coming into our system, and then have our private money lenders. If we have too many deals, then we won't be able to close on enough deals. That's not good. Or if we have too many private money lenders and we don't have enough deals, then we cannot deploy the funds. So we need to keep a balance. So that's why at this time, we can only take 5 lenders. But if we take other private money lenders, they'll be on a wait list. So that's basically it. The first step, if you have a self-directed IRA with American IRA and you're interested in talking to me, and so we can go into more in-depth info, because I didn't cover a lot. There's a lot to cover in this area. You can set up an appointment with me. You can scan this QR code. That would be the first step. If you are not with American IRA, I would still do step one, but immediately I would also set up an appointment with Kyle Moody, who works for American IRA, and he's a great guy. He can help set up an account for you. Or if you are with another company other than American IRA, then I tell you, my personal retirement account is with American IRA. They are great guys. Probably have one of the best fees in the industry, very competitive. So I would still do the same thing. I would set up an appointment with me, then set up an appointment with Kyle, and he can explain to you different options that we have in terms of how we can do a rollover for you from so let's say you don't even have a self-directed IRA, right? So it's actually not a very complicated process. If you have a regular IRA or a Roth IRA, it's very, very easy. If you have a 401k, that's a little bit more complex, because if you are currently employed, and we can correct that with Jasmine if in a moment, but if you're currently employed and that's where your 401k is, you may not be able to do a rollover, but there might be some other options. If it is a 401k with a former employer, then it's actually easy. You can actually do that. Again, that's when you would do step two and set up an appointment with Kyle. I do have a special exclusive offer for anybody who is currently with American IRA. So let's say you have an account with American IRA, which means a self-directed IRA account, but you've never done private money lending. You think what I explained to you is very interesting and you like to learn more, but you're afraid or hesitant because you've never done this before. So what I do is like I said, I teach other people, I teach other investor to be private money lender. I've just finished a certification course with a very large real estate investment group in teaching 9 private money lenders about how to do this. So my offer to you is I'll be doing a 4-week crash course on how to become a private money lender. So if this is an exclusive offer for you, if you have an account with American IRA, self-directed IRA account, but you have never done this before and you would like to do that, I would actually enroll you for free and you can do that crash course. So that's all I have, Jasmine.
I'm here. Hello. That was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Do you want me to
Yeah.
keep that on the screen or stop sharing?
No, you can keep it on there for a minute and let
Okay.
everybody kind of catch up to it. Um, are you offering that I can post a link to download your slide deck? Or do you have that ability?
Uh, I will
So
have to
that,
email it to you.
yeah. Can I offer your slide deck for people to download to
Oh
have
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
slides? Okay,
absolutely. Absolutely.
cool.
Did we not do that last time? Yeah,
I
I
do
think
not
we did.
remember. Not everybody does. So I
Oh,
can't
okay.
remember if we did that or not. Because I know we do our follow-ups with the blog posts and in the newsletter and we send out the recording. So I'd also like to send out the link to your slides too. So
Yeah,
um
I'm sorry.
you're fine.
I forgot to mention, if you have any questions, yes, you can raise your hand. I should have said that before, but I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, there's a Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen, and I didn't mention that either. I don't have the chat open, but you and I, Amira, can see the questions if they come up. Oh, there's one right there. Charles asked, I just logged on. Is this available for replay? Yes, I absolutely. If you registered today, since you're here, I will send the replay link and as well as the slide deck we just talked about to everybody who registered, and then anybody who registers later to see the recording, you'll get the slide deck too. It'll be on our website after that.
Right.
So there you go. You just did it. Thanks, Charles. You just exhibited our Q&A tab very perfectly.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So, the again going back to that exclusive offer, and I found this is very interesting. I found people who've been doing a lot of things with their money. They're investing in a different things and all that. And obviously, nobody's going to come out and say, "Well, I don't want to do this because I don't know how," right? And
Hmm.
sometimes it's embarrassing because you're a grown-up person. But there are specific things about knowing the details and so that's why I started teaching other people about private money lending. That you can go through this course. That doesn't mean you're committing to anything. That doesn't mean that you after doing this you have to become a private money lender. But it's just
Hmm.
education, right? You just did a kind of a certification course from somebody who knows what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, right? Teaching other people about this. So you'll be in a better position to make a decision. Well, yes, I want to do private money lending, or no, I don't want to do private money lending.
I think that's fantastic. It's very generous of you. I'm all for continuing education, taking classes, certifications, anything and anything. If it's something you're interested in, you need to get your hands on it. So we appreciate that exclusive offer is very generous.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Medj has a question. You offered a private money lending course before for a fee. Did this happen already?
So the private money lending course is with a fee. Yes, I charge $99, but that's the special offer that it's free for American IRA clients. So imagine if you're an American IRA client, then it's free for you. If not, then yeah, you'll have to pay $99. But you can maybe sign up with American IRA right now. It doesn't cost you anything, right?
Yeah,
If you have an account, either you can do a rollover and then it'll be free for you.
fantastic. There's no more questions right now in the Q&A tab. I had a question, but you answered it in your frequently asked questions section. So you're too thorough, Amir, too thorough.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about other speaking and other education things that you do for investors? I mean, this is awesome, but I know you do podcasts. You want to tell everyone about that as well? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we do these live webinars every Wednesday at noon Eastern, and I'm booked up with presenters till July.
Wow.
So yeah, on Wednesdays. So that's going pretty well. And then I need to go back and put some of the old webinars, edit them for clarity, and put them on our YouTube channel. So our YouTube channel is growing in leaps and bounds. So if you're interested in video content, we have all kinds of stuff. We have shorts. We're going to be doing live streams soon. So that's ramping up. It's American IRA LLC on YouTube. Of course, the podcast is up and going. You can listen to podcasts on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts, or straight on the AmericanIRA.com website. That's there too. We have new blog articles every single day. We have a new blog. So we have so much information about everything and anything self-directed IRAs that you can think of. And if you find a topic that you don't know and it's not on our website, let me know at marketing@americanira.com and I'll get that information out there. But we have so many educational resources. Um, yeah. Linda has a question. I might have missed some of the initial information. Is there a minimum to invest? That's a good question.
Yes, so like what Jasmine said earlier, one of my purpose is to do an educational content. So on talking about generically, that's a very good question. In our case, it is $30,000. But if you are a private money lender and you're working with some other entity, theirs could be higher because it depends on what their model is. I know some fix and flip models, as you know, the average home price in a regular market is maybe 100,000 or more. So in that case, it will be much higher. So it depends if you are a private money lenders, it depends on project to project basis, right? And that's why if you work with us, it's very easy. You already know before going into the project because we have a system and our system is exactly duplicatable. So we look for a specific kind of property. We do a lot of due diligence before we bring them on. So that's why our price point is always the same. So we're always looking for because we buy them on cash, we can buy them on at a deep discount. And that's why we can lock in the price by saying, okay, the minimum is 30,000. That's what we stay with. Now, when we say minimum, we simply mean that when you do one loan, it's 30,000, but you can do multiple of those 30,000.
Gotcha. Okay. Linda has a follow-up question. Can my husband and I combine our ST IRAs to invest? And my mind says, okay, 15,000 from hers and 15,000 from his as one investment as partners. But your model does put investors together, right? It's like a pool of investors. You're not just investing in that one.
No, so we don't pool. That's why our because remember when you're pooling funds, SEC is involved because you're doing some kind of a fund, right? We
Mm,
are not doing that. So
mm,
because we're not doing that, we don't need to follow those specific SEC guidelines for pooling funds. So it's a very simple model. What it simply means is, and this model has been around for like generations, right? You're an individual, you're using your money to invest in one specific property. When you do one specific property with one operator, it's very simple because you have first lien position, there are no other investors, right? So to answer her question, yes, technically, I don't see any problem with that. My only concern is that's something we can talk about in more detail is because when the payments are made, right, the payments are made to one of the accounts. So then that's more of a mechanics on how we're going to set that up. But it has to be set up in a such a way whether the funds are internally transferred. I'm assuming within American IRA, if they're both husbands and wife, they can
mhm.
transfer funds between. That part I don't know. That
Yeah,
maybe
because it
American.
doesn't work exactly like a bank account. It's
Yeah,
not like a shared.
unfortunately, that.
Yeah.
But if you were to work with us, what will happen is, let's say you do send the funds to me. That's not a problem. One comes from this side, one comes from this side. The problem is once it's created, I have to create one outgoing, right? And the tax consequences would be specific for that. So wherever those funds are going back in, will get the payments and interest. We
Mhm.
cannot divide those into two, unfortunately. Not that I know of, but I think we can maybe get on a call and explore that a little bit further.
Yeah, that sounds like that's going to be a deeper conversation to have with Linda. And her follow-up to the follow-up, Linda says, "This sounds fun. I'm signing up for your crash course and I have been paralyzed in making a decision. Looking forward to learning. Learning is always a good thing. Always a good thing." Then finally, Linda says, "That makes sense. 30K is doable for each of us." Okay, so definitely a deeper conversation
Oh
with
yeah,
Linda
absolutely.
and,
Please
and
set up an
Mr.
appointment.
Linda.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Let me clear some of these questions. We had a couple more come in. Charles asks, I just retired last week. I have a 401(a), a 457(b), and a TSP. Is there a way to roll over my accounts to an SD IRA without getting taxed? I cannot answer this question. That sounds like a CPA question.
It is, but first of all, congratulations on your retirement. My understanding is, again, I'm not a CPA. What I understand is if it is a 401(k) of any kind of or a retirement account of any kind where you're currently employed, that's a little bit more complicated. But as soon as it's a ex employer, then yes, it can be done. And yes, I mean, that's the whole purpose of a retirement account, that it should be tax deferred. So the two difference that I understand is when you do a rollover, there's absolutely no tax consequences. When you do a withdrawal, yes, then you will have it. So I would have two discussions. One discussion with your CPA,
Yeah.
and the
Mhm.
second discussion would be with Kyle.
Yeah,
So
that's what I
with,
was going to say too, because if you're not taking control of any of those funds before they come to us, if they're going directly from custodian to custodian and it's like account, like funds to like funds in the
correct.
same type of account, that shouldn't incur anything. But I think you can only do rollovers a certain number of times in a calendar year. Then I
So that's
don't
why
know
I'm
exactly the rule on that either. So you want to be careful of that as
So,
well.
so first would be the CPA, because your CPA probably knows specific information about you in terms of tax consequences. And then the second conversation would be, so it should be first your CPA, then Kyle, because Kyle might ask you some question that your CPA would have given you. So when you talk to Kyle, then he can tell you, okay, based on that, then yes, we can do this. Based on this, we can do this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely the order of events there. So Charles, I hope that answers that question for you. All right, that is all of our live Q&A tab questions for now. We're almost at time. We've got like about 10 minutes left. So any parting words, anything that we didn't cover that you just want to drive home, Amir?
Yeah, what I've seen, and I'm sure, Jasmine, you're also aware what's going on in the stock market.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not an advisor on what to do with the stocks and all not. I do know that there is unfortunately, there's a lot of fear in the market. And one of the reasons, obviously, I'm biased. I've been in real estate for a very long time. Um, you all need to do a whole bunch of deep research before you make a decision, whether
Mhm.
it's real estate, whether it's something else. um, there's no guarantee of anything. So even though I like real estate, we all know even in real estate there are 16-year cycles. So that happens also. There are crashes that happen, so nobody can predict anything. What we just want to do is, in my opinion, you should just vet the operator that you're going to work with, find out what their track record is working with other people, how long they've been doing it, do they know what they're doing, and then just do deep research on the model itself. Because some models only work for a short period of time and then they stop working. That's one of the things I like about real estate. Is real estate, like I said, it is a 16-year cycle, but some of the things, for example, what real estate offers is a utility, which is a basic need for people to live in, right? So no matter what happened, people will still need homes to live in. Yes, the prices go up and down. In our case, the specific models we are actually using, it is actually completely independent of the price of the property. So it's a very interesting concept. It takes a lot of time for me to explain because I explain the economics on it. So please, if you haven't, set up an appointment with me, even if you don't are not interested. If you just want to learn on why this model is working, I'll be happy to just explain this model to you.
Fantastic. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Amir. It's been a pleasure, as always, having you here at the webinar series. And your podcast episode will be out in a couple weeks, I think.
Okay.
I have to check on that, what the production schedule is for that. But I'm excited to hear that one too. I mean, I was there, but still,
Yeah.
it sounds better when it's edited and all put
Sure.
together.
Oh yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And if you have any questions about American IRA, you can reach me, marketing at American IRA, or you can reach Amir to answer any questions about today's webinar. And if you're watching this on the recording, you'll be able to download the slides at americanira.com in our blog section. There'll be an AmirCon in case you missed it, ICYMI blog. And that'll have all of the show notes there too. So thanks so much, Amir. Maybe we'll have you on in a few months. That would be
All right.
fantastic.
Thank you again, Jasmine. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.